Welcome one, welcome all. Welcome to the instrument of your dismay. Together we will walk the path of ghouls and ghosts down a long and winding road leading only to the Dark Corner. I am your host. You may call me Cheese Film, for I am a lover of all cheesy and campy and silly movies. Be brave, my dear listener, for not everything you see here will be cheesy. There will be some dreadful and dark stories we will explore here in the Dark Corner. We will be exploring a wide variety of horror, sci-fi, comedy, and drama. Today's film is The House on Haunted Hill. So today we're looking at The House on Haunted Hill. House on Haunted Hill was originally released back in 1959. It is currently sitting in the public domain. It was directed by William Castle and written by Rob White. This movie stars Vincent Price, and one of his first roles that I ever saw him in. This movie actually is holds a lot of nostalgia for me, which isn't saying much because it's a movie from decades past that I don't want to say I grew up with, but this was my first Vincent Price movie ever, and one of the two horror movies I ever watched by myself. It came on a double DVD of this and Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, so it was a DVD of this and Night of the Living Dead. On one side, Night of the Living Dead. On the other side, House on Haunted Hill. It was a black and white version, and it wasn't until October of 2023 that I found out that this movie was released in color too. So I did watch both of them recently, and to compare the two, just to see what a movie that you originally see in black and white, and then you see it in color, what it can do to you, what can it do to the film. And honestly, there is a charm about it being in black and white. If you want to watch the color one, that's totally fine. I liked it. There's nothing wrong with it, but there is a element of eeriness about the black and white version. It's like the shadows are darker, the house looks darker, everything is just it's got a good eerie vibe to it. Like when in the very beginning you see the silhouette cutouts of two characters' heads, one of which being Vincent Price, and they're giving the classic opening monologue about how the ghosts are out tonight and they're gonna get you. But like in color it's fine, but like it really sells it being in black and white, and I think this movie does benefit from black and white. So if you were ever to watch this movie, I would always suggest it being in the black and white form. Vincent Price does a stand-up job being a victim in this movie. His wife is an adulteress, and he invites all these people here to kind of spoof on his wife. She wanted to throw a birthday party, and he basically overran it. And he's going to play a little game on this alleged haunted house up on this hill. He invites them all in, and he gives them, at the time, I bet this was a lot of money, but it's like $10,000. Like it's like nothing in the modern era. Like if a billionaire said, here's $5,000 to stay in this haunted house, I'm gonna lock you in here, and slowly one by one people are dying. I don't think the $10,000 is gonna be worth it. They did remake this movie, which I will eventually get around to talking about, but in that one they upped it to $1 million, which I think works better. And like with the time, like in 1959, I bet $10,000 was a big deal, but in 2024, $10,000 can't even get you a car, But so the movie is interesting because it makes you think that you know what's going on right around halfway through when, spoiler alert for a movie that's from the 50s, Vincent Price is accused of killing his wife. He didn't do that. She faked her own hanging, by the way. It's a hanging. She hung herself, faked that, and her and another guy that he invited are planning on killing Vincent Price, throwing him in a vat of acid, and it just doesn't work. And it's cool that throughout the movie you think you know what's going on, but as the more it goes, you're like, wait a minute, the house isn't even haunted. The only real haunts are the people, and I guess the skeletons they keep in the closet. But overall, a really good movie, a really nice Halloween time movie. It's odd that Vincent Price is in so many movies where he is the victim of adultery, and to get back at the adulterous wife, he murders them. In the end of this movie, he throws his adulterous wife and her lover into a vat of acid, which sounds preposterous. And the way the story is written and the way the story progresses, like, you find out people died in the house, and like the ways that they were murdered might still be there. So a couple stayed at the house and they were decapitated. Later on in the movie, we see those heads, but it turns out those heads were fake. And then they got another couple in the past stayed at his house, and they filled the wine cellar with acid for some reason. They tested out by, I think, dipping a rat in it, and it dies. But it's like Chekhov's gun. They show the acid pit because you know they're going to have to bring that back. You don't just have an acid pit and then not use it. But they attack Vincent Price. The lights go out. They think they pushed him in. Turns out they didn't. Vincent Price's skeleton comes back and is puppeted by him. And it's a little silly because you can very clearly tell that it's a skeleton on like fishing wire. But again, it's got such a good charm to it that, like, right around the Halloween season, throwing this on, it's a blast. It's just a blast. So this movie, House on Haunted Hill, was originally released theatrically by Allied Artists, which I want to say is what Charlie Chaplin's production company became. They did a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? But like if you went to go see it, they had gimmicks. That's the word. So like you went to go see this movie, and periodically throughout the movie, they'd have like a ghost come down from the rafters and scare you, or like skeletons would pop up, and like it's an interesting idea. And not a lot of things did that, and not a lot of things do that anymore. We do have like the 4DX stuff, but I don't think they do stuff like this. I've never been in one of those. I kind of want to, but you know, you never get around to doing what you want to do. This movie is like a cult legend. I don't think it's very culty, maybe because I have nostalgia for it. Mystery Science Theater 3000 did a little commentary on it back in the day. And they remaked it, of course. And actually, come to find out, I did not know this, but there was a sequel novel written back in October of 2023, and you can get the audiobook, and apparently people like it. I just found out about that, actually doing this episode right now. And it looks like, as of 2017, another remake is in development, along with a prequel to the original film, which I find to be interesting. Now, the sequel and the prequel looks like it's going to be written by Castle's daughter, Terry Castle, and I wonder if she is going to return it to the campy elements of it, or try to take it in a new modern way. Now, this is a movie I would have loved to remake. I actually might end up doing like a little short film homaging it, because it's public domain, and I love the movie, and do what you gotta love, right? But if Castle's daughter can bring back like that, it's the personality of that original movie, I think it'll be great. Because in the 2000s, when they did, I think it was 1999, when they did the remake of it, it is very of the time. It's very of that early 2000s, late 90s, extra grunge, extra punk, extra dirty. Everything's dirty and overlit. You got a lot of like blue lights outside shining through the windows. You got a lot of dirty sets and like, I don't want to say bad dialogue, but like you got dialogue that like, it feels like nobody's supposed to pay attention to it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just not good. It's just not good. But if she can bring it back and give it that charm of, I mean, I don't want to say camp, but just of Halloween delight, you know, just of a spooky house in the middle of nowhere where you don't even know if the house is haunted or if there's just trickery afoot. I think that's a great way to go. Maybe have it be actually haunted. I think that would be a great idea and a nice thing to bring to a sequel or a remake, because everybody's like, well, don't remake it if it ain't got something new in it. Remake the movie, make the ghosts real, kind of like how they did in the remake and back in the 90s. But commit to that. Don't go over the top and have it have this drastic and just cruel backstory about the ghost. It could just be, you know, you can have like the Shining Hotel, like it's just a haunted hotel. Like you don't have to go into the backstory of everybody. You go here and there and find out, and that really brings in the personality of your haunted house. But don't overdo it. Don't make it like a weird monster movie in a bad way, you know. And I love digital effects. I'm a digital effects lover, but really go back to the practical of this. I think you can really do a lot with practical ghost effects. I think it will really bump up the production value if you remake it with good practical effects, because we see with A24, they like take Hereditary for example. Just the camera work in Hereditary alone lends itself so much to the personality of the scares, because you're not really sure where to look all the time. And then I won't talk about it, but there's a shot in Hereditary where the camera pans out and you see what's going on and you're like, oh my god. And again, very simple. You just let the camera do the work for you. And when you're doing ghost effects, that might be the best idea for it. But I digress. House on Haunted Hill, one of my favorites, starring Vincent Price. We'll be talking a lot about Vincent Price on this show. I will not be talking about negatives, really. I will comment on things, but this will not be a show of hate. I will not watch something I hate and then just rant on it. I will always talk about what things did right, what they did good, and what they can do better, what we can learn from it. Because even though I don't like the remake of House on Haunted Hill, I think it did do a lot of stuff good, and we can learn from it to improve. This is not going to be a hate show. This is not going to be where we just sit on a soapbox and talk down to things. We are specifically targeting old and forgotten films, primarily of the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, that us as young people don't really know anything about. So welcome to the Dark Corner. This was the first episode. This is going to be kind of... this will be remade. There will be another deeper dive into House on Haunted Hill. But as it sits, this is my first one. Welcome. Please follow along. I will be trying to do this as frequently as I can. And thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. If you want to check out House on Haunted Hill, the original 59 one, it is currently streaming on Amazon, both in color and in black and white. I don't know where the remake is streaming at, but I know that you can rent it on Amazon, on Apple TV, on Vudu. Like it's accessible. But yeah, if you want to check it out, go right for it. It's on Amazon. It's with Amazon Prime membership, and it's not very long. It's, I think, under an hour, maybe just at an hour. I might be way wrong. It might be a little longer than that, but it doesn't feel like that. It's very quick. And then, just if you like it, share it with your friends and family. If you don't like it, it's not for you, and that's okay. Thank you for joining me here in the Dark Corner. I am Cheese Film, signing off.